This is Right on the Money with Tom Mosley, founder of Mosley Wealth Management.
Our mission at Mosley Wealth Management is to help people make sure they never run out of income the rest of their life and they pay as little as they're legally required to pay in taxes.
Since 1995, Tom Mosley and his team have been creating comprehensive, custom financial plans to help you preserve what you've earned and pursue what you've envisioned.
In retirement, a lot of people have built a great lump sum. We call that your lumber yard. But you need a blueprint to put that lumber yard into a plan that you can build a retirement house to live in.
What's on your mind this week, Southern California? The stock market, taxes, inflation, income, Social Security, how to ease into the life of your dreams? Let's discover conservative financial strategies starting right now. This is your Right on the Money Radio Hour with Tom Mosley.
And a very happy weekend to you. You are listening to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. He is the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management based right here in Southern California. And I'm your host, Kristen Oakley. We're so glad you're joining us today. Each week, Tom and I are committed to providing you with retirement planning solutions. We've got a wonderful show for you this weekend. We're going to be diving deeply as we kick off today's show on the subject of Social Security. Before we get into that, Tom, my friend, so good to be back here in the radio studio with you. How are you this week?
I'm doing great. I hope you are too. I hope you know what value you bring to this show. You've been in this industry for over a decade. You're not that old, but you've been in this industry for over a decade, and I appreciate the value that you bring to my show and this show and your show out there. If you're listening, you've listened to Kristen and me for well over a year now, and we do our best to be different than a lot of the other broadcasts that you might hear where they're just constantly asking for come in and see me, come in and see me, come in and see me. And that's don't get me wrong, that's where we translate the show into where it makes it financially feasible for us to keep the show. But we're also committed to you to bring you education, to teach you things. We realize there's a lot of you that'll never come in and foot the door of what we're doing because you are still do-it-yourselfers. I mean, you did it yourself all the way through your 401k years and your working years, and you're still trying to do it yourself. I wish you would see the value of having an advisor because every single report, remember the report recently, Kristen, where Vanguard, self-investor company itself came out and showed that if you're working with an advisor, you're going to make have twice as much money in retirement as opposed to if you're not working. But I do appreciate all of you listening. We're trying to educate you. And yes, we are here to help you. We are here to meet with you. We are here to have you come in and become our clients if that's what you ever choose to do. But Kristen, you play a very valuable part in what I'm doing. And I'm going through a season right now where I've just lost a brother-in-law, and he was a very important person to me. He was a very close person to me for a long period of our lives, and closer than my own brother. And you really go through a time, Kristen, where you value those people who are meaningful to you in your life. Yes. Those of you who listen to us, our clients, and you, Kristen, are valuable to me. And I appreciate you guys. And I'm glad to be here in answer to your, what was probably should have been a short response. I just wanted to sort of express where I am. And I'm glad to be here today with you and with all of you who are listening.
Oh, Tom, thank you so much. And our condolences go out to you and your family. We know how hard that is to lose a valued loved one. And thank you so much for your kind words. It is such a joy to get to serve all of Southern California together with you. And again, we share this mutual passion for financial education. It is so important. Knowledge is power, and being empowered to be able to make the best decisions possible with your hard-earned money. And that's what I love so much about this. And for those of you that don't know, Tom puts so much time and effort into each and every show. He always is coming with ideas and articles and things to talk about based on what he's experiencing in his office with so many of you who have called in and come in to sit down and meet with the team of Mosley Wealth Management. So this is not a cookie cutter approach. And I always enjoy our conversations and the way that they're guided to really help and connect with more people. And really, it's about changing lives for the better. And that is such a joy to get to do that with you. So thank you for the honor and the opportunity.
Hey, Let's have a good show today.
Let's do it. All right. Well, Social Security, this is a subject that I always want to highlight sets you and the team of Mosley Wealth Management apart. You are certified with the National Social Security Advisors Association. Did I get that mouthful right?
I think so. It's a long one.
It is, but it is such an important distinction. The fact that one, you help your clients figure out how to optimize their Social Security. And I would just want to back up and say that when it comes to Social Security, there is a lot of talk out there these days about maximizing your benefits. But what does that really mean for you? And I know that two of the biggest questions you are receiving when folks come in and they specifically have Social Security questions is number one, how do I decide the best time for me to file for my benefits? And number two, is Social Security going to be there for me? We know that that's a huge concern. So we're going to get into all of that today. But let's first break down the basics. When someone comes in and they ask you this question of when should I file for my benefit? How do you help start answering that question for them?
Well, let me back up to the two questions you mentioned just about 30 seconds ago. The biggest question I've got right now when people come in and talk, and we do, Kristen, well over 100 Social Security workshops spread all over Southern California every single year. They're on the schedule. Go to our website. You can come and you can meet either me or one of our other three presenters, and we will present a solid hour of information on Social Security. And Kristen, the biggest question is not maximizing, optimizing, when should I turn on? The biggest question people have right now is it going to be there?
Mm-hmm.
Is it even just still going to be there? And so then a lot of people follow up the question and they say, well, should I go ahead and turn it on since we don't know for sure that it's going to be there? Well, let's back up on that. Nobody has said or indicated that Social Security was not going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
They've been telling us since 2008, which is 17 years ago,
Right.
They've been telling us that if they don't change the rules, in fact, it says on the Social Security printout on the website that unless Congress changes the law, by 2033 or by 2034, they may only be able to pay out 79% of the benefit. Now, they've been telling us that for 17 years. It's been there. It's public knowledge. They're saying it themselves. So nobody's saying it's going away.
Mm-hmm.
They're just saying that by 2033, 2034, it may be reduced by 21 to 25% because those numbers fluctuate year to year. So here's the issue. The way Social Security was set up. And I don't want to offend anybody. I know somebody said this publicly recently and everybody got, the cat was turned the wrong way and all the hair got rubbed backwards,
Having two cats, I know that's never a good thing.
No, it never is. I've got a poodle and they're just like a cat when that happens, all right? But somebody said they got offended that somebody called it a Ponzi scheme. Now, obviously a Ponzi scheme is known as an illegal scheme where they're selling people stuff and then they're taking the money that comes in and paying out the people they sold previously to make them think they're making money. But Social Security, let's just be slow on this.
Mm-hmm.
Social Security was always set up as a gigantic legal Ponzi scheme, if you want to look at it that way. The people who are working and you're taking the FICA tax out of your paycheck, every single paycheck goes into the Social Security fund. It doesn't stay there. It doesn't grow there. It doesn't gain a lot of interest because it's in government securities.
Mm-hmm.
And it is there to pay out to the people who are drawing. So the people are paying in, not so that that money stays there for them, but that it goes out for the people who are drawing now. Now, here's the history. In 1935, when they started Social Security, the numbers are this. There were 160 people paying in for every one person who was drawing.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with Social Security is not a Democratic or a Republican or a red or blue or purple or green or you name it. It's a numbers problem, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because now there are 2.2 people drawing on this Ponzi setup where the people paying in, there's 2.2 people paying in Did you get that?
Yep.
2.2 for every one drawing out. That's a
Yep.
numbers problem.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there was 35 million paid out in 1935. A couple of years ago, the number was to 1.6 trillion with a T. So that's the problem. How should they act? Well, let me break to the cut here. How should they act? A lot of you aren't going to like this, but I'm not here to make you happy. I'm here to tell you the truth and to educate you. But it was always set up so that as people would live longer, which we do now, okay? The average male lived in 1935, we're told, to 61.8 years. Now the average male lives to 83 years of age. So a lot longer. Social Security is going to have to pay out a lot longer. So how was it built to deal with that? Well, let me tell it to you this way from my family. My grandfather's full retirement age was 65. I was born in 1952. My full retirement age is 66. My wife was born in 1960. Her full retirement age is 67. And if they would gradually bump that full retirement age, continue to bump it because they've already done it twice.
Right.
If they would graduate that higher to, say, 70 or 71 even, you're still going to get Social Security longer than it was ever intended for people to get it back when they started it in 1935. That's the way they set it up to be funded that way.
Right.
And if they would simply if they had done this in 2008, we'd be okay now. Now they're probably going to have to do both because they're not going to change people when they're just 2 or 3 years away from Social Security. But the younger people, move that cheese a little bit further, then it would work. It would be solvent, and it would be here for all of us, not just the generation drawing now, those of you about to draw, but those of you in the future. If they would do that, we would solve the biggest question and the most asked question, and we solved that here in this first segment. Is it going to go broke? I don't believe so. It's just could be diminished, but if they'll do the right things, they'll have it here. What's going to happen to your Social Security? Do you need help negotiating some of these questions? Then you need to give us a call. All of our advisors are trained by the National Association of Social Security Advisors. We're here to help you in any way we can.
Wonderful. Tom, thank you so much. I'm excited to continue diving into this conversation and what it means for each one of you listening. But again, this is why Tom and the team of Mosley Wealth Management would love for you to be able to come in and sit down in the privacy of their offices and receive your very own complimentary retirement blueprint. And if this Social Security conversation is something you have questions about, they will be glad to run a Social Security optimization report for you. We'll talk more about that when we come back, but to go ahead and secure your spot to come in for this complimentary retirement blueprint, all you need to do is pick up the phone and call 888-930-5609. Stay with us. We'll be back with more right after this.
Social Security is easy, right? The question is, should I take it now or later? Well, there are dozens and dozens of ways to take Social Security if you're single, and even more if you're married. This one-time decision can also affect how much you pay in taxes, how much you receive in lifetime payouts for you and possibly your spouse. You could increase your nest egg by tens of thousands of dollars just by being informed, and unfortunately, the Social Security office is not allowed to give you comprehensive financial planning advice. You've paid into Social Security for decades. Get your own tailored, no-cost Social Security income strategy with Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management. 888-930-5609.
Call the Mosley Wealth Management team at 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609. Welcome back, Southern California. You're listening to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley. If you're just joining us, we were answering the question in the first segment that so many folks are asking, which is, will Social Security be there for me? And Tom, I really appreciate how you took us through what's actually happening with Social Security, helping folks understand the reality of the situation and understanding that it will be there for folks. It's not going away, but there's some changes that may need need to happen. Really, the big takeaway and the question that we need to address now is, how does this impact folks? How is this going to impact your Social Security? How can you put a plan together to make sure you're optimizing your benefits? And that's what we want to talk about next, correct?
Yeah, right. It's one thing for Social Security to do whatever Social Security is going to do. Congress is going to dictate what happens. The president, to some degree, is going to impact that. But remember, this is something that can only be changed by law. And it's not that yes, the president signs the law, but Congress has to act to do something to change it, to make it more solvent. And the biggest question, and this is where I'm going to encourage everybody who's listening, Kristen, everybody out there needs to get real personal with this. And I stress at all of our Social Security workshops that you can't listen to Bob at the water cooler or Sally in the break room. Your Social Security is different than anybody else's. Not that Bob and Sally are going to lie to you, but they're going to tell you what they have discovered is best for them when it comes to Social Security. And in this segment of the show, we want to delve into maybe asking some questions as to what is best for you to turn on your Social Security, so that not you maximize it. Everybody in the world can tell that if you wait till 70, the last year it starts growing rapidly. If you wait till 70, that's when you're going to maximize it. The question is, when do you optimize it? What's the optimal time, the best time for you to turn on your Social Security? And how do you decide those things? That's what we need to talk about.
For sure. And so I think we need to start with the basics again, just to help folks understand these different key ages and how filing at a certain age, what kind of impact that can have on your retirement. So let's go through the breakdown of the key ages that folks need to be aware of.
Well, you can start taking it just like you could in 1935. You can start taking it at 62 years of age. Now, I said earlier, guys, the average male passed away at 61 years and 8 months in 1935. So, you wanted to turn that thing on as soon as you could back then, generally, okay? But now if we live into our 80s and even into our 90s, it's a real question as to whether you turn it on at 62. Now, why should it why should it be concerning to turn it on at 62? Well, you take a 30% haircut off of just your full retirement age. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But you take a 30% clip. Like if you're at full retirement age and you're going to get $2,000, you're immediately only going to get $1,400 at 62. Plus, there's some earnings restrictions. This year, it's $23,400 is the most you can earn from a job. If you're turning on Social Security and you're in that window between 62 and your full retirement age. So you say, what happens? What's the penalty? For every $2 over, they take back $1 of Social Security.
Yep,
and
those good old givebacks.
Yeah, those good old givebacks. And nobody loves those givebacks that you realize you're going to do when you're filling out your income tax the next year and you think, wow, I made too much money. But for every $2 over, you pay back $1. So if you're making $100,000 a year and you turn on a $30,000 Social Security, guess what? You're going to pay it all back at the end of the year. Now, they're going to make an adjustment when you turn full retirement age. But in 30 years of doing this, I have never run into anybody who was happy with the adjustment that Social Security made. They always felt like, wow, I got gypped on that just a little bit. I got cut off from what I've really felt like I deserve. So there are all kind of restrictions, when it comes to earnings if you're 62, and even a different restriction that I don't even want to go into the numbers in the year you actually turn your full retirement age. Now, let's talk about full retirement age. I mentioned earlier, my grandfather, born in 1898, his full retirement age was 65. I was born in 1952, and if you were born in 1954 or earlier, your full retirement age is 66. If you were born like my wife in 1960, Susan and all her compadres that were born from her year this side of 1960, your full retirement age is 67. Now, here's what they did. From 55, it's 66 and 2 months. If you were born in 1956, it's 66 and 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
If you were born in 1957, it's 66 and 6 months. If you were born in 1958, your full retirement age is 66 and 8 months. And if you were born in 1959, it's 66 and 10 months. So you see how they gradually worked it up. If they would continue to do that, Kristen, they would then work it up to 68, 69, 70, maybe 71 over a period of time. And then people would still be drawing Social Security for an average of now 10, 12, 15, 20 years even. And so it would make it very solvable if they would do that.
Mm-hmm. And so that's the thing, that there's some adjustments that could potentially be made, right?
They not only could be made, they've got to be made. I
Yeah.
mean, they've talked about, well, take the high income earners and tax them on all their Social Security. They take the high income earners and just don't stop the FICA tax at about $170,000 or so, where it is this year. All of that sounds good, votes really well, but there's just not that many high income earners. And it would only bring in, I've seen figures from as little as 7% to maybe 12% of what's needed. So you're still way behind the 8 ball.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to take and raise our full retirement age over a period of time. So the most important thing, though, particularly if we go back to that 62 penalty for earning more than $23,400, the number for this year, you've got to be careful if you turn it on early. You've got to know your full retirement age. And then the other age is 70. I get people, Kristen, who come in sometimes and they say, oh my goodness, I'm 70, but I don't really need my Social Security, so I just don't think I'll take it. And I jokingly say, well, take it and give it to me and I'll pay the tax on it. I can't do that legally.
Right.
Okay. But it doesn't continue to benefit you to not take it after the age of 70. So go
Correct.
ahead and take it. But if you do wait from, say, 67 to 70, you're going to get 24% more.
Right. It's an 8% increase per year.
Every single year. So here's the deal. If you take it at 62, you get a 30% haircut to full retirement age. If you wait until 70 after full retirement age, you get a 24% bonus. So, oh my goodness, it does make a difference when you turn it on and how you turn it on. Now, let's bring this home. How do you determine when you bring it home? Well, obviously, we'd all like to wait until we're 70 to get the most out of it.
I was going to say, that's the easy answer to how to maximize your benefit, right? It's just wait until age 70.
Coco, my little granddaughter, who's now 8, I talk about her often on this show. I brought her into my computer about 6 months ago. She was 7 and in the 2nd grade at the time. I showed her the graph and I said, where do you get the most money? And she pointed up at 70, reading a graph as a 2nd grader, and said, there, Poppy, and acted real disgusted at me that I couldn't figure that out for myself. Yes. You get the most, you maximize at 70. But let me tell you the story of a lady who came in one time and she had come to one of our seminars and she dropped her stuff on our conference room table. This was about 12 or 14 years ago. And she started weeping, not boo-hooing, but weeping. And I said, her name was Gladys. She's since passed away. I said, Gladys, are you okay? She said, yeah. She said, I did my budget last night and I'm $400 a month short. What am I going to do? I'm 64 years old. I'm retired and I'm $400 a month short. Well, I said, that's why you're here. Kristen, I work with people who've got tens of millions of dollars, but we also work with people who are $400 a month short on their budget. We try to help you in every way we can. So I started going through the documents she had brought in, and I got to Social Security, and I said, Gladys, it shows here that you're supposed to get $1,432 a month at 64. How long have you been taking your Social? And she said, oh, I'm not. I said, what? She said, no, I went to a Social Security maximization workshop and the advisor said, don't ever take your Social until you're 70. Well, after 45 minutes of going through all of her documents, this lady had no more money. And she was $400 a month short legitimately. Guess what the answer for that person was? Yeah, I hear you saying it out there in Radio Land. She should go down and turn on her Social Security. And I'll never I'll never forget the look in her face when she turned around at the office when I walked her to the front door, and she turned around and she pushed the door back open and she said, I'm going to have $1,000 extra a month.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be able to go see my 3 grandchildren in Minnesota, and I'm just going to be able to save my money for about 2 or 3 months and be able to do that. And the relief on her face, because before she was listening to what somebody had just arbitrarily told her and not personal information.
Right.
Now, listen to me out there. You need a personal analysis of not just your social. That's like the rim of the puzzle, okay? You need a personal evaluation of what income you have, what other assets you have to help you determine the optimal time to turn on your Social Security. And that's what we're offering you if you'll pick up the phone and call us.
And that number to call is 888-930-5609. Again, we encourage you. This is for no cost, no charge, no obligation. It's simply an invitation to have a conversation with the team of Mosley Wealth Management to see how they can help and serve you. And as part of this complimentary retirement blueprint, you will also be able to receive your very own personalized Social Security optimization report. 888-930-5609. We'll be back with more right after this.
In 2020, the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 37% of its value due to the pandemic crash and eventually recovered. In 2008, the Dow closed more than 50% down from its previous high due to the financial subprime crisis and eventually recovered. The dot-com bubble of 2000 erased nearly 80% of value from the NASDAQ, or close to $5 trillion, and eventually recovered. Other negative market events include the Black Monday losses of 1987, the complete market crash of 1929, and the flash crash of 2010, and those markets eventually recovered. But if you're preparing for retirement, you might not have years or a decade or more for your investments to recover, especially if you need to begin or have started withdrawals from your investments for income. The closer you are to retirement, the more important it is to take action and work with a team of financial advisors to help you protect what you've worked so hard for. Claim your free portfolio risk report right now from financial advisor Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management. Call 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609. Or go to mosleywealthmanagement.com.
Take control of your financial future today by calling 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609. Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. He is the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management, and I'm your host, Kristen Oakley. Today, we have been talking a lot so far about Social Security and those 2 questions that we know are on the top of most folks' minds. When should I file for my Social Security benefit, and will it be there for me? We're going to get back into that conversation. But Tom, one of the things I know you're so excited to share with our radio listeners is how many live events you have going on this year, and how many of those live events are specifically Social Security workshops. And I know you love getting to meet with our radio listeners. It's so fun for you all to get to come to these events and interact in person and even grab a selfie with you, Tom, right?
Yeah, when my wife goes to these things with me, she just laughs that people want a selfie with me because she sees me all the time.
Yes.
And, it's just funny. But no, we'd love to have you come to some of our events. I'm not at all of them, but I'll guarantee you're going to get a great presentation on Social Security at all of them, whether it's Travis, my son, who does some of them, whether it's Jeff, who does some of them here in the Anaheim area, whether it's Roberto, who does some of them up in the Encino area. And sometimes I do those events in those areas. I'm even going down to San Diego next month to do a couple down there. But whoever's doing it, you're going to get the full deal. You're going to get everything that's involved in Social Security. We do almost 200 events a year. And I would say, Kristen, 90% of them now are Social Security. So how do you find out? I don't know when you'll be listening to this, because this broadcast gets rehashed and shown out in different ways, like on our YouTube channel and other things like that. Go to our website. That's Mosley Wealth Management. You spell my last name, Mosley. There's a bunch of different ways to spell it. My mom, before she got married to my dad, even spelled spelled it a different way. I'm a thoroughbred. I was
Right.
Mosley on both sides,
Which is
but
so rare.
it's Mosley, wealthmanagement.com, and just click on a tab up there that says events or seminars, and you can find one in your area. We go out about 6 to 8 weeks in the future from the current time when you go on that website. And if you don't find one close to you right now, just look again in a week or so, and you'll find one that'll pop up as we sprinkle them all over Southern California. Now, for those of you who are thinking, well, I need some help. Well, congratulations, because you realize you need some help. And if you're not thinking you need some help, you probably need some help anyway. If you do need help on Social Security, you can come in and meet with one of our advisors. All of us are trained in Social Security, not like some of the guys who in Orange County still teach file and suspend that went away in 2015, not like some of the people who teach that you can do some of the restricted apps that went away in like 2017. And, all of the things that are changing, they're always changing, Kristen. And so we stay up through our training with that. And we also have one answer to a lot of questions. I don't know. But by training with this group, we have the ability to go to them and find the answer for you. It's not worth, if you're out there, taking a shot in the dark of Social Security. It's 41% of the average household in America's retirement income. So you got to get this right. And it's the first thing you got to get right. It's the edge. I've said many times, Kristen, you've said this before too. It's the edge of the puzzle.
Yes.
You go with those flat pieces, get that in place, then other things begin to fall in place once you realize where Social Security fits, how much are you going to have. Because when you walk out of your job into retirement and you're in the world of retirement, the one thing you don't have anymore is income. And Social Security could be 41%. It is 41% as an average of the American household's income. You got to get it right. That's what we're offering you, the chance to come down and not talk to that authority, Bob at the water cooler, or that great person of training, Sally in the break room, who's telling you all about it, but to talk to somebody who's really trained in Social Security to help you determine, based on the other assets you have, when is the best time for you to turn on your Social Security. Do you want to do it right? Or do you want to take a chance with something so huge and so big? I think you want to do it right. And that's why you need to call us. You need to get on our schedule.
Yes, you can't afford to make a mistake with this important decision. So again, couple things to highlight. You can look at the list of upcoming events in your area by visiting mosleywealthmanagement.com. That's Mosley wealthmanagement.com. And if you know you want to go ahead and schedule your time to come in and receive your complimentary retirement blueprint, and as part of that, you'll get your very own Social Security optimization report. All you need to do is call 888-930-5609. Tom, this decision can get very complicated very quickly, depending on your marital status. And we're going to get to that next. But one of the things I think it's important to point out as well is that the Social Security Administration cannot give you advice. They are not allowed to give you personalized, individualized advice based on your unique situation. They can give you information, but they cannot give you advice. And it's up to you to know the rules. And this is why it's so crucial to work with a team such as yourselves and the team of Mosley Wealth Management in order to make sure you're working with professionals who know the rules ins and outs, who know when the rules change and what it could mean for you. So whether you're currently married, maybe you're a surviving spouse, or you're single, or you've been through a divorce, your filing strategy can have a significant impact on your retirement. And the Social Security Administration is not going to chase you down and say, hey, by the way, did you know that you were eligible to receive more money? So this is why navigating the best strategy for filing is not easy, and it's really important that you get it right. So that's what we're going to talk about now. So gosh, Tom, where do you want to start on this conversation of optimizing your benefits based on your current marital status?
Well, let's talk about people who are married. If you're married and you both have Social Security, then one of you has a higher Social Security. That's just normal. I've never seen two that were the same. I saw one couple one time in 30 years, Kristen, where they were $2 apart.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and they both had really strong, high earning jobs all their life. They were $2 apart. Well, Social Security themselves call the one that's the higher, the couple, a married couple, the one who has the most money in Social Security, earning from Social Security, that's the breadwinner.
Mm-hmm.
Many times we have found, this is not advice over the radio, many times we have found that it's best to consider turning on that lower earning Social Security claim at full retirement age, or even sometimes at age 62, and allowing that breadwinner Social Security to continue to grow. Now, let me show you what difference it would make. You say, why would you do that? Let me give you the end at the beginning here.
Okay.
Because when that married couple becomes only one again, when one of the two passes away, the surviving Social Security, regardless of the surviving spouse, the surviving Social Security is the breadwinner, is the larger one. So all other things being equal, if you can turn on Social Security of the lower one, and that makes ends meet, that fills the budget with maybe a pension, with maybe a part-time job, with maybe savings that you have, with maybe drawing a little money out of the IRA or the 401k. That is a way to build a plan to allow that breadwinner to continue to grow. Now, let's go back to the beginning of 2025.
Mm-hmm.
If at the beginning of 2024, a married couple had retired, let me give you a real specific here, and the lower Social Security amount had been turned on. When we came around and lapped in January of 2025, that lower Social Security that was turned on in 2024 would have gotten a 2.7% raise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The breadwinner that we did not turn on in this scenario would have gotten an 8% growth addition plus the 2.7% raise. So by not turning it on, that breadwinner had grown in that year of being dormant, of not being turned on, 10.7%.
Mm-hmm.
And that would happen every year, because if you're out there, you're going to get the cost of living raise, whether you're already taking it or not. It's going to increase your ultimate Social Security. So allowing that breadwinner to grow. Say, how long? Well, like 𝗫𝗏 before, if you need it, take it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why your situation is different than anybody else's. So that's just one way we help married couples. How do we also help married couples? Surviving spouses. There are certain ways that you can file off of the deceased spouse's Social Security at age 60. And it may be a reduced payout. It may be impacted in some ways. And then in other ways, you can then allow your own Social Security to continue to grow, and then turn off the deceased spouse's survivor's benefit at a later date and turn on your own personal. In other words, you work both against each other.
Right. And that applies if your spouse were to pass away before you reach the age of 60 is what we're talking about, right?
Exactly. You
Yep.
can do that. You can do it. You can do it as early as 50. There's benefits for the children that need to be considered. All of those things are decisions that, as you pointed out at the beginning of this segment, Social Security is not able to give you options and advice. They're able to give you information.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really important that you're sitting down with somebody knowledgeable about this very, very huge part of retirement to help you make decisions. And one of the things we haven't mentioned is all of our visits that we do offer to you are complimentary.
Yes.
That means free. They
Yes.
don't cost you anything. We will build you not only a Social Security optimization plan, but also a retirement blueprint that impacts your income, inflation, investments, taxes, healthcare, and your legacy, how you're going to leave it. But you've got to take the initiative and say, I need help. You got to raise your hand and say, get me on your schedule. Let's meet. let me make sure I'm making the right decision.
And that number to call to schedule your free consultation, your free retirement blueprint is 888-930-5609. We know that Social Security is complex and it's essential to have a strategy in place. So we encourage you to schedule this time so that you can receive that Social Security optimization report to figure out how you can optimize your benefits no matter what your personal situation is. And it will be put together in the context of a full, comprehensive retirement blueprint and financial plan for you. 888-930-5609. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we've covered some strategies for those of you who are married, those of you who might be a surviving spouse. What if you're single? What if you've never been married? What if you've been through a divorce? Stay with us. Tom and I are going to unpack some unique strategies that you are going to want to consider for your Social Security benefit right after this.
Is having $1 million enough to retire? For years, many have considered this to be the goal amount to have for retirement savings, $1 million. But that's the $1 million question. Is that enough for today's modern retiree? Are you sure you've saved enough for a 25 or 30-year retirement? With a comprehensive financial plan, you can take control of your finances to help you achieve your long-term goals. At Mosley Wealth Management, let us help you work towards peace of mind by implementing a complete retirement strategy. Call Tom Mosley and the team of Mosley Wealth Management right away to receive your complimentary, comprehensive written financial plan. 888-930-5609.
Call 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609. Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and we are so glad that you've been part of this important conversation today. We've been talking about how to optimize your Social Security benefit. In this last half of the show, we're talking about how specifically your marital status can play a role. So we've already talked about some strategies for those of you who are married couples, those of you who may have lost a spouse, especially earlier in life. We also want to touch on, we know a lot of you listening are single. Maybe you've never been married, or maybe you've been through a divorce. And there are some unique strategies for both divorced and single individuals when it comes to Social Security. So there's some additional options that could provide more financial security than you realize. So let's break these down for our listeners this weekend, Tom.
Okay, let's just start off with being single. A lot of people that come in to see us, a lot of people that come into our Social Security workshops, you've been single all your life. You've just been single by choice. You've never been married. Okay, let's talk about that. You know, you're on the yo-yo plan because just like the first 50, 60, 70 years, however old you are right now, you've been out there on your own. And in Social Security, you're still on your own. There's no breadwinner to play off of. There's no surviving spouse because you're on your own. Now, with many of those people, what we found is they've either been able to, we found the same things, Kristen, we find with everybody. Some of you who are single have been able to save really super well. Some of you have not been able to save very much at all. You've not gotten much traction. Some of you are in the middle. There's basically those three categories. And if you're out there and you've not been able to save very much because you've been single, you've been paddling with one paddle, not one on each side of the boat, I get it, then sometimes we find it might be best for you to wait until at least your full retirement age, because then you don't take the haircut of 30% if you turn it on at 62. If you can wait to 70 and retire at 70, then you're going to get a 24% boost over even your full retirement age. So that would be beautiful. That would be great. And while you're doing that, if you're single, again, you're on your own. There's not two 401ks. There's not two sets of IRAs. There's not two sets of inheritances. And there's not two people to pay the mortgage. Okay. And the only benefit is you don't feed two people and you don't have to have two cars. Okay. But, if you're out there and you're in that situation, then probably just get a great job, save as much as you can. We find many of our singles who are working in their 60s are topping off their retirement because you are on your own. Now, if you're divorced, if you're divorced, there may be ways that you can play off of the ex-spouse starting at age 60, or if you're disabled, you could even maybe start at the age of 50. And some of the benefits that you might be able to get from your ex, even if they're still alive, you can maybe claim some of their benefits. Now, there's so many of those that, those are the kind of things, Kristen, we like to talk to people on an individual basis rather than going through all the exceptions and all of the options and all of the bells and whistles. But
Because there's
most
certain criteria that you have to, fulfill in order for that to qualify, right?
That's true. And the biggest one is you got to have been married 10 years. That's generally the one that's the most predominant, that you have to have been married for 10 years if you've gone through a divorce, and then you're looking at maybe working off of that ex-spouse. Now, here's what I run into. I'll give you some real for instances.
Okay.
I've got great clients who, in the country music song, it's a guy singing the song, "She got the gold mine, I got the shaft,"
Mm.
and going through the big D and don't mean Dallas, type thing. And when you go through the divorce, it's not always the guy who gets the shaft. They're just the ones that write the country music song. Sometimes I've seen people go through divorce and it's the female who's gotten the shaft. But sometimes also recently I've had clients where it seems like the other side got more money. Hey, forget about it. You are where you are. We've got to get this and overcome this. So when you're going through that divorce, you need to be able to pull as much Social Security. You always counted on two. You counted on two incomes. You counted on two people. You counted on one household that you had to fund. Okay, now there's two households that have to be funded, and two rents or two mortgages. So all of those things change. It's a big financial decision to go through a divorce, and so many people are going through the divorce when they're in their upper 50s and 60s. Here's why, Kristen, people are saying, it's one thing to see them a couple hours at night and then on the
Mhm.
weekend, but now when we both are retired, we have to see each other 24/7, 365 days of the, and this is all the life I've got left. I want to be able to enjoy it. And people are getting divorced in big ways. The biggest impact is on your Social Security, and the biggest impact to you could be on your social. But here's what I've seen from ladies in particular.
Okay.
A lot of ladies that are now in their 60s, when they were in their 20s, they took off work when they were bearing the children of the home,
Mhm.
and they raised the children until the kids got back into school. In fact, one statistic I saw one time said that the average lady who's 65 years of age might have as much as 8 to 9 years of gap in their Social Security earnings payments. In other words, they
Mhm.
hadn't paid in. Well, when they go to determine your own Social Security, they're gonna take the top 35 earning years. So if you're like my wife Susan, she took off like 15 years to raise our children because we
Mhm.
spread them out, and she took off 15 years to raise our children and to get them into school. Well, she has still at 65 not qualified for 35 paid in years. So every year she continues to work and pay in for Social Security, that just enhances her Social Security even more.
Right.
You say, Tom, wait a minute. You're talking about divorced people. Your wife is not divorced, right? And I hope she never is. And I hope she's never single. I hope we're together, okay?
Yeah.
But if you are divorced and you did take off and you did raise your children while you were married, then that is a gap in your personal Social Security that might make it advantageous for you to look at how you could earn off of your ex-spouse's Social Security. And I guess the funniest story we've got is one lady one time came up after an event and said, "You mean I can earn off of my ex-spouse's Social Security?" Yes. "Do you
Mhm.
mean that I can get more money for doing that?" Possibly. Okay.
Mhm.
Will they know about it? Was the third question the lady asked. And I said, well, he might or he might not know about it. Social Security won't tell him. She said, well, I'm going to tell him because I want him to know about it. I want him to know I'm getting money. So, okay, even if it was bitter, okay, you need to look it up and find out what's the best benefit for you.
But I just want to highlight, because I think this is important. I've heard a lot of times when folks are in a divorce situation, they're scared to take advantage of this because, let's say they do qualify to claim off of their ex-spouse. They're scared that it's going to either diminish that ex-spouse's benefit, that it'll cause more chaos, that they're going to know about it. Here's the thing. Social Security will never notify them if you are collecting off of him or her. They will have no idea. And so if you don't choose to tell them, they're not going to know, and it doesn't impact their benefit. And I think that's important for folks to understand, that that doesn't need to be a hindrance.
Exactly. For those of you who are wondering, I wonder, there are a lot of particularly females out there, but some of you guys started businesses and you didn't have earned income for, I've got one client who didn't have earned income in his business, great business, but he didn't have earned income for 7 years. So he had a 7-year gap in his Social Security pay-ins, what he was paying in. How can you find out? You can go to www.ssa, that stands for Social Security Administration.gov, and you can look at your account, open your account, and you can click on a tab there that will show you and open up an earnings history for you, and it will show you how many years you've paid in. Many people, particularly females, you know, Kristen, we haven't said this for a while on the show, but I do go across the country training advisors on the special needs of women in retirement, because women are going to live longer by and large, and about 7, 8, or 9 years longer than men. And so retirement and retirement planning is more important for you as a female generally than it is for a male. No promises, guys, that you're going to die first, okay? But you need to go on and find out how many years you've paid in, because many times if you haven't paid in 35 years, they're going to give you a 0 there, and your benefits are going to be diminished, whereas working another year or 2 years or 3 years, I've seen in one situation, greatly enhanced the Social Security payout for the person, because they were removing zeros and putting in real numbers in those 35 earning years. You say 35 earning years, wow, that's a new one. There are so many new ones that we're not able to talk about on here. We are here to help you optimize your Social Security, and yes, get the most, but turn it on at the best time for you. Is your advisor talking to you about this? The other thing we talk about in a big way we haven't mentioned on this show, we need to do a show again soon on this, is taxes. Is your advisor talking about how much tax you're going to have to pay on your 401k and your IRA? Because all that money's not been taxed and it's going to come out as regular income. Folks, that's what we do for you. We try to educate on this show, but we offer you an opportunity to come in, sit down with us, and let us build you a complete retirement blueprint so that you've got your questions answered and your retirement blueprint is specific to you. But you've got to pick up the phone, just like your phone number is specific to you. Pick up your phone and call us and get on our schedule.
I just want to point out, Tom, that this is not a cookie cutter approach. You can't call in and say, hey, can you send me one of those retirement blueprints? That's not how this works, because what's going to happen is you're going to be able to come in and meet with one of the all-star advisors of Mosley Wealth Management, and they're going to start with a blank sheet of paper in front of them and build you your very own customized, personalized retirement blueprint. And again, it's free. And as part of that blueprint, you will also receive your very own Social Security optimization report. That number to call to claim yours is 888-930-5609. Hey, thanks so much for joining us this weekend. We appreciate you being here. Be safe, be happy, be blessed, and we look forward to being back with you next time here on Right on the Money with Tom Mosley.
Investment advisory services offered by duly registered individuals through Mosley Wealth Management Incorporated. Mosley Wealth Management and Mosley Insurance and Financial Services are affiliated companies by common ownership license number OB61811. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refers to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength, claims paying ability of the issuing carrier. This content is intended for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the needs of an individual situation. All hypothetical examples are provided for illustrative purposes only. They do not represent real-life scenarios. Mosley Insurance and Financial Services, nor its agents or representatives, may give tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a qualified professional for guidance before making any investment decisions. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. Some of the information provided may be from one or more third parties, which we believe to be reliable sources, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Mosley Insurance and Financial Services.